It's Story Stringer.
Long, long ago, beyond the mists of time and all that shit, there was once a great empire, right? And its borders stretched all the way from the lush, balmy lands of the Hindu Kush all the way to sun-baked Spain and the Atlas Mountains of Morocco. It was at the height of its golden age, a beacon of commerce, art, and science, its cities luxurious and prosperous. Now this empire was ruled by a great emperor, and this emperor had two great sons. His eldest was a king named Scheherazade. His youngest was a Shah named Zaman. Both brothers were excellent horsemen, learned scholars,
Fascinating.
Quite.
and dedicated statesmen.
Sire, we found this man being whole.
Do it again. Have him build a soccer stadium.
Then castrate him.
Ah, my sons, my wise seed.
So Big Daddy died and they split the empire, giving the lands of Mesopotamia to King Shahryar in the west, and the lands of Persian Samarkand to Shah Zaman in the east. For 10 years, they ruled justly, leading pleasant and untroubled lives, until, one day, Shahryar woke up from bed and said to himself,
I haven't seen my brother in a minute. I need some bro time. Vizier, where are you?
Yes, your magnificence and grace. Yes, it's been a minute since I've seen my bro. You should tell him I said, sup. But not in a thirsty way. Just a low-key, sup. Anyway, you see my wife? Seen Masood? I'll find her.
Our man the Vizier walks away depressed and dejected, because this story takes place long before text message, and he knows he's going to have to travel all the way across the empire just to let the Shah know that his brother, the king, says hey. The things we must do for existence. So the Vizier gets his retinue together, travels all the way through the dry, dusty, hot-as-hell deserts of Central Asia, where he enters the capital city and moves through to the emperor's palace, where he meets the Shah and says, Hello, sire. Your brother would like to see you. Shah Zaman is all like,
Bet.
and he makes arrangements to leave the city. Now he's royalty, Persian royalty. When he goes big. Outside the city, he has tents put up. He has camels. He has servants and mules and guards. It's a big flex. So he's getting this all set up, dotting the I's, crossing all the T's. He goes to his vizier and says,
Hey, you're in charge.
Yes, your resplendent gloriousness.
Now, the Shah is down bad for this family get-together. It's been 10 years. The thought of all the shit they're going to do together has pretty much got him doing tippy-taps. Around midnight, Saman wakes up in his tent outside the city and realizes,
Oh shit, I forgot that thing.
not wanting to make this a whole thing and wake up his crew, Saman decides he's going to head back to the palace on his own. Like Solid Snake, he slips through the city streets. He makes his way to the palace, to the secret entrance that only he knows about, and makes his way to the study.
I left it over that No, where did I...
He stops.
What
listens. Not exactly sure what he's listening to. The Shah starts to move up the stairs, and as he does, he gets a whiff of the funk. And since this is a few thousand years before George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, the Shah does not like the way this funk vibes with his nostrils. So the Shah approaches the bedroom door, eyes wide, ears open, and he listens. He hears something rhythmic, something salacious.
Oh, shit. Oh. Whoa, fuck.
And there it is, his wife, in bed, in flagrante delicto with a slave. A black slave. Now the Shah Zaman, in revelation of this open Brazzers tab in his boudoir, has a moment of crisis. He asks himself,
This woman is gonna get this freaky when I haven't even left my city What kind of freak nasty shit would she be getting into when I'm in my brother's lands?
He contemplates this for a moment, then pulls out a sword and kills them both. After that, the Shah makes his way to his brother's lands, just going out sad. All he does is hang his head and mope. But when Shaman gets to his brother's city, King Scheherazade makes shit lit. He lets it snow, unleashes thoughts, booze, DJs. He takes the whole city off the chain. But despite it all, King Scheherazade sees his brother just isn't having a good time. So he waits a few days, then approaches his brother when he sees him prostrate on the garden floor.
Brother, I wasn't going to say anything, but after watching you lie around lamping sad all day, I have to ask, what happened? Did you lose a battle?
I wish. Oh God, do I wish. You can't imagine the horrors that I've seen. It was terrible, brother.
Okay, all right. You know what you need? You need to go on a hunt with me. I'm a king now. You know what we can do? We can get some slaves, send them out. We can go hunt some humans. Have you ever had that? Are you listening to music? Are you listening to Drake right now? Bro, you're turning your back. You know what? Forget it. I don't need this shit. I'm going on a hunt. I'll see when I get back.
Outside the city, King Scheherazade prepares for his hunt. He has tents, camels, all that royal shit prepped, and then he sets out for the best hunting his lands has to offer. So let me lay the scene. King Scheherazade. His palace has these big windows that overlooked his many palace gardens, and it was here that Shah Zaman decided to lay and contemplate how his wife was cucking him with a black guy.
I can't believe that bitch did this to me. After all, this is the Arab slave trade. We have slaves that are white, black, Arab, slaves of every race. She could have had sex with any of the white slaves, but no, she had to get it on with the palace guard.
While Zaman lets this fetish crystallize, he looks down and happens to notice 20 beautiful slave girls enter the palace gardens below. After a moment, he also notices his brother's beautiful wife, Masood. They take off their clothes and proceed to go skinny dipping in the fountains. Zaman watches this scene, a little titillated, but feeling a little bit guilty, decides to back away until he hears footsteps, darker footsteps. Below, he watches as 20 black slaves enter the palace gardens, take off their clothes, and proceed to get freak nasty with all the slave girls in the waters. Then this bitch Masood calls the biggest, blackest slave Zaman had ever seen in his life and proceeds to get nasty with him. This brings a smile to Zaman's face. After all, he was getting cucked by one black guy. His brother is getting cucked by 20.
Scheherazade, you fucking loser.
When Scheherazade returned to the palace, he saw his brother was in a much better mood.
Brother, why are you so happy all of a sudden?
I'll tell you why I was down, but I ain't gonna tell you why I'm up.
Okay, Zaman, tell me, why were you depressed earlier?
Well, if you really have to know, thrusting, sucking, black guy.
Brother, is that true?
Yes, Scheherazade, it's true.
How do you recover from something like that? You're fucking glowing right now. How are you glowing?
Do you really want to know?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Zaman.
Absolutely sure.
Yes!
Okay.
And like all toxic siblings, Shah Zaman relishes devastating his brother with these black bolts of truth. On hearing this, King Scheherazade looks his brother in the eye and says,
I don't believe you.
and then he makes a very loud announcement at court that he's going on yet another hunting trip. Outside the city, he puts out the tents, the guards, the camels, the whole retinue, and then has them leave without him. Instead, he decides to hide with his brother in the balcony that overlooks the palace gardens. After a few hours, Shaman smiles as he watches his brother bear witness to eyes wide shut the jungle fever cut in the palace gardens below. Scheherazade watches the stroke game of the Dark Continent until he can't take it anymore. He turns to his brother and says,
There's only one solution. We must wander the earth until we find a bigger cuck than both of us.
Yes, this is the actual story, people. Yes, this is the actual text. So, King Shahryar and Shah Zaman exit the palace through a secret passage, leave the city through a back gate, and wander the desert for 3 days and 3 nights.
Nothing but hoes and tricks. Nothing but hoes
No,
and
we should
tricks. What? We should start a podcast.
Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
A podcast,
We'll call it
yeah.
Fresh
What do we call it?
Territoire.
It is during this itinerant commiserating that they come upon a spring and drink from it. Later, as the brothers rest in the shade, they notice that the waters of the oasis are starting to bubble. A large pillar of smoke shoots up into the sky. Now, the brothers, being somewhat ethnic, they're not exactly white enough to sit around and see what the smoke's going to turn into, so they run up into a tree and hide behind its leaves. They watch as the pillar of smoke turns into a giant, terrifying djinn. In one hand, the djinn is strapped with a giant sword. In the other, he holds a giant wooden chest. The brothers watch as he sets that chest down in the sand. They watch as he opens the chest and pulls out a box. They watch as he opens the box and pulls out a beautiful young woman, as radiant as the sun.
She shone in the darkness and the day appeared as the trees shed brightness over her. Her radiance, big suns rise and shine. Wow, it's for the moons. She covers them in shade when she appears. All things bow down before her as lightning flashes from the sanctuary.
The djinn looks at this beautiful woman and says,
"Noble woman whom I've taken on a wedding night, I wish to take a nap."
So the djinn rests his head in the woman's lap and promptly goes to sleep. After a few moments, the woman looks up and notices the brothers looking down on her from the tree above. She smiles as she lifts the djinn's head and places it on the ground, then rises and motions for the brothers to come down from the tree and join her. When the brothers refused, the woman replied,
If you don't come down from the tree, I'll wake the djinn and he'll put you to the cruelest of deaths.
Hearing this, the brothers leapt down from the tree and joined the woman by the water, where the woman looked at them and said, now this is a quote from the text.
Fuck me as hard as you can.
Say that again?
What?
You are going to fuck me as hard as you can.
Whoa.
I don't even know who
okay,
you
you're
are.
Crazy.
Are you kidding me? We
Look,
just
ma'am,
found you here.
No, I'm not going.
If you don't do it, I'll wake up the djinn and tell him that you poked my butthole.
Brother, we have no choice. She has us between a rock and a hard place.
See what I did there?
nice.
Brother, I should go second because sloppy seconds is more virtuous.
No.
under-
I shall get the seconds. For the younger blood always
If you don't hurry this up, I'm waking the fucking genie.
A few moments later.
When they were finished, the woman pulled out a purse. From that purse, she pulled out a string. On that string, 577 signet rings.
Do you two know what these are?
Hit a hedgehog?
Each one of these belonged to a separate lover that cuckolded that djinn with me. Now, you will give me your rings.
The brothers handed her their signet rings, and then she told them.
You should know that that djinn had stolen me away on my wedding night and locked me in a box, put that box in a chest with 7 heavy locks, and then he threw that chest to the bottom of a tumultuous sea. But what he didn't know was that when a woman wants the D, nothing can get in her way.
Damn, man.
That is called shit. If this djinn, with all his super magical powers, can't hold it down, then no one can.
Do not put your trust in women or believe in their covenants. Their satisfaction and their anger both depend on their private parts. They make a false display of love, but their clothes are all stuffed with treachery. Take a lesson from the teller Joseph, and you will find some of their tricks do you not see. That your father Adam was driven out of Eden. Thanks to them, thanks to them.
Concluding this, the brothers leave the woman and the jinn, return to the palace, and
Kill
execute
them all!
the queen, slave girls, and slaves.
Whoa, oh, wow. Wow, you just executed 20 slaves, 20 slave girls, and the queen. I assume justice has been served, my liege.
No, this isn't over. This isn't over for damn sight.
From here on, King Scheherazade loses it. He jumps headfirst into the waters of Little Dick Energy. Every night, for the next 3 years, he would marry a woman, bed her, and then leave her in the morning to be executed, often in the cruelest of ways. This caused unrest in the city. It got so bad that most of the fathers fled his lands with their daughters until there are no nubile girls left anywhere in his kingdom. One day, the king says to his vizier,
Bring me a new woman. Make sure she's hot.
The vizier knew it was bad. The city was devoid of all young women, and he knew he would have to return empty-handed. He had seen how cruel the king had gotten over the past 3 years, and he was worried he would turn that cruelty over to him. At home, the vizier was greeted by his 2 young daughters, Scheherazade, his eldest, and Dunyazad, his youngest. Scheherazade was your quiet, learned, bookish, girl-next-door type, while Dunyazad was more energetic and more of a conversationalist. Scheherazade could see that her father was under deep distress. She asked him what was wrong, and he refused to answer. She says to him,
Father, sorrow does not last. Just as joy passes, so does sorrow.
Hearing this, the vizier decides to spill his guts, blubbering his troubles about the king and his homicidal predicament. Scheherazade listens, takes in the details intently, and then says to her father,
Marry me to this man. Either I shall live, or I will be a ransom for all the children of the Muslims and save them from him. Her father, hearing this and being sane, is all like,
Are you out of your fucking mind? No.
His daughter insists, so the vizier raises his hand and says, I'm afraid what will happen to you is the same that happened to the donkey, the bull, and the merchant. Okay, father, what happened with the donkey, the bull, and the merchant? Well, let me tell you a story, daughters. A long time ago, there was a merchant who had great wealth and lots of animals. Almighty God had also given him the ability to understand the languages of both beasts and birds. He lived in the country and had a donkey and a bull. One day, the bull went into the donkey stable and saw that the donkey had it pretty easy. He had fresh water, fresh straw, and barley in his trough. The bull compliments the donkey on his finesse. The donkey tells the bull that the secret is in being stubborn. Just don't work. When they bring you work to do, don't do it. Just refuse. When they bring you food to eat, refuse to eat it. Lay down. Play sick. Eventually, they'll just leave you alone. Bring you work when it's really important. The merchant overhears the donkey telling the bull this and quietly creeps away. So the next day, a servant comes to the merchant and tells him that the bull is too sick to work. The merchant smiles to himself and says,
Take the donkey out.
So the donkey works the fields while the bull takes it easy. This goes on for 3 days, until finally the donkey approaches
Yo,
the bull
motherfucker, this shit is
irate.
bullshit.
He
I
can't
gave you a little
take
bit
it
of hint. You gotta do this shit.
Bull
This
hears
fucking
this
shit. I can't
and
believe
says,
you do this shit.
Okie dokie, I'm sorry, man. I'll get back out there.
So it's the next day, and the bull's on his way out to work when he sees the merchant, looks him dead in the eye, and lets out a huge fart. This causes the merchant to laugh so hard he almost collapses.
Husband, I demand to know what is so funny.
Darling, I can't tell you. If I do, I will reveal God's secret and he will strike me dead.
You were laughing at me, so you better tell me what that joke was. I
The
swear
merchant had
to
heard this
God,
tone
I'm not
before.
joking.
He knows his wife will not let it go. But he also knows if he reveals his secret of knowing the language of birds and bees, God will strike him down in an instant. So, he summons his children and sends for the Quadi and the notaries with the intention of leaving his final instructions before telling his wife the secret and then dying. Suddenly, his rooster arrives with his hens and asks,
Hi, what's going on?
The hens tell the rooster about the merchant and his wife, and the rooster says,
Why doesn't he just beat her with some mulberry branches until she doesn't need to hear the joke?
Hearing this, the merchant is all like, why didn't I think of that? Drags his wife out to a field and proceeds to beat her for wanting to know why a bull farting was so funny. Anyway, Scheherazade, not really seeing the point, like anybody should, decides that she is not convinced and insists that her father take her to meet King Scheherazade. The vizier, wasting everybody's fucking time with that story, decides he doesn't really have a pot to piss in and relents to his daughter's plan. On her way out, Scheherazade stops by his sister and whispers in her ear. So the vizier arrives at the palace with Scheherazade. When the king sees his daughter, he's all like,
Did you bring me what I want?
in answer, the king presents Scheherazade. The king looks her over and instantly starts licking his lips, rubbing his hands.
Ooh, you are hot.
Hi, my name's Scheherazade.
Yada, 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 you'll do.
And like that, the king has them married on the spot. He takes her to his bedchambers and instantly begins to rip off all her clothes. Scheherazade, seized with stress, begins to cry.
My love, this is rather peculiar. Why ever would you be crying on your wedding night?
That's not how marriage, women, or anything works. Well, I should know. I've had 3,000 wives over the past 3 years.
Wow, okay. Well, the vibe in here feels a little musty, and considering this might be my last night alive, how about I have my sister Dunyazad come through and we all have a little party?
Oh, you have a sister. Well, let her come watch.
Later, Dunyazad arrives and is forced to watch the king defile her sister.
That was pretty good. Whew. Well, you two have until morning, and then I will skin you alive. Or by whichever means I decide or strikes me at the moment, you know.
Scheherazade kicks back and relishes watching two sisters say their final goodbyes.
I'm afraid this is it. Goodbye, Dunyazad. I love you. Oh, Scheherazade, can't you tell me one last story before sunrise?
Scheherazade smiles a wry smile, turns to the king and asks him,
Oh, great king, can I tell my sister one final story? Ugh, if it's gonna keep you two from crying all night like some pathetic women, then please, knock yourself out of the park.
The king posts up, Dunyazad sits down, and Scheherazade begins the first of what will be 1001 Arabian Nights. Thank you kindly, y'all. This is Story Stringer. I hope you'll join me for the rest of these 1001 Arabian Nights. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that bell to be notified.